Are you tired of looking at your Steam library and feeling nothing? Games just don't make you feel like you used to anymore? Are you tired of all the personality-less giant AAA games in your library demanding hundreds upon hundreds of hours of your time? Do you miss the joy of running through crunchy levels, blasting away at weird-looking enemies while explosions and pixelated blood fill your screen? Well, boy howdy, do I have a game for you. Today, we're talking about Chop Goblins. Chop Goblins is a microshooter, an FPS designed to be completed in a single sitting without sacrificing depth, variety, or creativity in its gameplay and level design, released on December 12, 2022 by David Szymanski. Szymanski is probably most famously known for Dusk or Iron Lung, but I found my way to him first via some of his other weird little solo projects like The Moon Sliver, The Music Machine, and Fingerbones while I was taking an online game dev course. I actually didn't play Dusk until I had enjoyed Chop Goblins so much, which is kind of wild, I guess. The plot to Chop Goblins is simple. You're poking around in a museum basement looking for loot, like you do, and are drawn to a mysterious crate. You open it and unleash a scourge of goblins, Chop Goblins to be specific, on your town, and now you have to stop them. Looking at footage of Chop Goblins, it might not seem like it right away, but I genuinely think Chop Goblins is a bona fide masterpiece, and it's helped me wrangle with an internal struggle I've been having with the way I feel about the game industry and video games as a whole. Okay, first of all, this game is hilarious. It wears its heart on its sleeve, and it isn't afraid to get a little silly. The ridiculous-looking goblins are always yelling goofy things, you get to travel to wacky levels throughout different time periods, and it's just full of lighthearted winks and nods throughout. Okay, look, that's a bunch of flowery hand-waving to attempt to describe why I've got a shit-eating grin on my face and can't help cackling when I play it. It's just silly in the best way, but not like silly in that it isn't a seriously solid FPS, you know? It's funny. But holy moly, does it just... Yeah, it's a game where the majority of enemies are weird-looking goblins with cleavers, but it looks and feels so good. The retro-inspired graphics are chunky and pixely, but not in a sloppy way. You know, I feel like going for that retro look, game devs can end up making things look muddy and weird in an attempt to capture that nostalgic aesthetic. God knows, I'm guilty of this in some of my own projects, but the Chop Goblins art feels and looks so good. Now, this is a basic FPS. You run, you gun. No jumping, no crouching, no crazy parkour, just running and gunning, and stabbing, of course, and holy cow, does it feel good. All of the weapons feel great to use. The controls are snappy, at least on PC. I'm having a hard time adjusting to the Switch Joy-Cons in the same way, but it still feels nice, just not quite as nice as on my PC. The enemy deaths are juicy and dramatic, the explosions are satisfying, it just feels good to play, you know? The game juice is there in spades. So, I found myself in a place in my life where time is a quickly dwindling resource. My commute to the day job has gotten longer and longer over the past few years, up to the point where I'm averaging 2+ hours a day in my vehicle, and it's destroying me. Which, hey, speaking of, if you're liking this video, you should consider signing up for my Patreon. Even $1 a month helps me get closer to not rotting to death in my car, and closer to making more content more often. I post exclusive stuff there, behind-the-scenes stuff, you can get stickers and zines and things. If a monthly subscription isn't your jam, you can always go to ntgjoed.com and grab a zine or some merch, or subscribe. Okay, sorry, enough of that. Back to Chop Goblins. You can finish the game in less than an hour, which I know might make all of those assholes in Steam comment sections and reviews crying about game length and sneering about how they refunded these pieces of art for not shoveling 1,000 hours of procedurally generated slop down their gullets sneer. But in my mind, that's a huge plus. You just got stuck in traffic for an hour and a half and you want to die, but you have to feed yourself and your pets and do some chores and clean up the kitchen, but the only thing that'll keep you sane is a few minutes of gaming? Chop Goblins. Get home late on a Saturday night after crushing some dirt cheap pitchers at a small town Idaho dive bar and don't want to try to figure out how the heck to finish that Doom Eternal level? Chop Goblins. Everything feels dark and pointless, and you only have the heart for a little bit of gaming, but you know that little bit might make all the difference? Chop Goblins. I mean, fuck, man, that one meme has never felt so true to me before, especially with all the awful news coming out of the games industry right now. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and I am not kidding. More and more, I find myself craving short, self-contained narratives that take me on a little journey of feeling some kind of way and then let me go home in peace. I'm just not at a point in my life where I can do a 100-hour grind in an endless game anymore, you know? And I could rant about this forever, but I'm working on cementing the thoughts better for an upcoming video, so keep an eye out for that. This is about Chop Goblins, and Chop Goblins is short, and that is awesome. You get 5 great levels, no save system, and you can experience the whole story in one sitting, no problem, and still want to come back and do it again later because it felt so good. There's a New Game Plus mode and achievements to grind if you want to. It's awesome. I love Chop Goblins so much, and I think you should play it. I'm really into the idea of micro-shooters. I think there should be more of them, and with the way the industry is looking right now, I think it's the perfect time to embrace these small indie delights that you can finish on the weekend before going back to your soul-sucking commute. You know? So what are your favorite mini FPSs like this? I want more. Please let me know in the comments. Chop Goblins is on Steam and just came out for Switch too. It's like $5. You should play it. Big shout out to my patrons. I love you so much. Dollar Tacos, you're the best. $5 Phillips, Vesuvius, Tom, Death's Warzone, thank you. I love you, friend patrons. The Driz fam, Meg. I'm hugging you so close with my mind right now. Thank you for supporting me, and I'll see you all next time.